We're live. It's Thursday. Happy Thursday to everybody. I'm Eddie Stone. So nice of you to take some time to join us today. I've been looking forward all week to having this chance to be with you. It's been a great week for us here, and I hope wherever you are, that is true as well. For those that have been following our story, we have enjoyed unprecedented growth here over the last several months. And that's not just here in the United States and Canada, which has been fantastic, but also across the Atlantic, over in Europe and the UK, we've seen just phenomenal growth, people joining, new customers getting involved with us, which is fantastic to see. And then, of course, across the Pacific, very specifically in Japan, our business in Japan just continues to be exciting and fun to be a part of. So it's been great. So for all of you that are new and just following our story, we welcome you. And we're enjoying this opportunity to have a chance to share with you through social media. Here are some of the things that we're doing. And one of the things today that I wanted to tackle was some of the questions that come along, particularly from new folks, right? You're brand new to a business and you're not really exactly, sure of some of the do's and the don'ts. And particularly where the questions kind of come across my desk, or I get put on a conference call or a Zoom meeting or even Facebook Lives and in various groups, are questions about some of the hows and the whys of our success. What really is having an impact on what we're doing. And for the most part, I can sum it up, and I'm going to add more to this, but it's really about you, people like yourself, people that see our business, get involved with it. They've found something they're excited about. They tell other people. And that's really where our success comes from. It's really a word of mouth business. But of course, like anything, right, there's more to the story. But make no mistake, things like that are a big deal. For example, I was noticing here as we're logging on today, and we can see, I've got like a little window here next to where the camera is. I can see sort of comments. Hello to everybody that's joining in. But I noticed that Kyle Nichols out of Arizona, and Kyle has been doing a great job. He's rank advanced in this past month. I noticed when we were signing some of the recognition certificates that were going out. So Kyle, congratulations to you and your team. But Kyle had taken the time before this to tag other people to be a part of this broadcast. And so it's really, our growth is really a function of people like yourself, and however you choose to share and tell the story is really where things come from. But what are some of those factors that are sort of, at work, a part of sort of why this thing really goes? And I think that's important to understand, so that as you're thinking about what you want to do, the significance of your effort, and sort of where your visions are in terms of where do you want to be a year from now, where do you want to be, say 3 years from now, 6 years from now, 10 years from now. It's important to sort of digest sort of the scope of the opportunity, because based upon who you are, what your goals are, this could be an exercise in really improving your health, reducing your risk factors for major diseases like cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes. It could be about improving your physique, right? Getting stronger. You're probably doing more home workouts now than ever before, but you're pulling up those classes on YouTube and you're doing the things you want to do, and you want to supplement those efforts with good nutrition, right? So there's a lot of things this can be. And for others, this is something where, I'm looking either for a career change, or I at least want to have a impact with a side hustle on my financial well-being and how I develop financial security over time. So there's a lot of reasons that people are involved. But what are those things that sort of drive us? And for me, there are really three big things that we want to focus on. And the first one is to look at trends. And when I say trends, I'm talking about things that over time change life and change sort of the way we live. And if they stick around, they tend to be things that have a positive dynamic on this arc of human existence. I'm not talking about trendy. So just to be clear in that regard. And if you look over the last several years, one of the things that we've seen that we now know is this trend that's with us to stay is online commerce. And just to give you some numbers, for example, in 2009, about 5.6% of all sort of consumer goods and services that we think of sort of in this retail sector were being commerce. The commerce was taking place in an online environment. And if I think back to 2009, right, we we had the internet and we had social media and things like that, but it wasn't quite as prevalent. But yet it was still there, and people were beginning to explore sort of the conveniences of being able to shop from home. We'll jump that forward, say 10 years, right? And let's look at, say, just 2019. That number goes from 5.6% to 16%, over $600 billion. Now just think about that for a minute. $600 billion worth of consumer goods and services were traveling through us, via e-commerce, online services. And that doesn't take into account the most recent explosion that's taken place during the pandemic that we're all wrestling with, globally, right? Not just domestically, but on a global level. And so that's a trend that for a business like ours is having a monumental impact as consumers look for ways not only to increase the depth of information they have access to, but convenience. And so this is a big factor. And if you're thinking about decisions in terms of, what do I want to do and how significant the effort that I want to make is, you want to think about sort of partnering with trends that are taking place. And in addition to that little fundamental trend of online commerce, now let's take that one step further and look at what's happening from a mobile commerce standpoint. I mean, quite literally in that regard, the world is changing. And again, it's something that's accelerated during the course of the pandemic. There's no question about that. I mean, there are individuals that never really downloaded an app or sort of interacted with an app, maybe beyond something like social media or looking at the weather, that all of a sudden now do their grocery shopping through one of the variety of apps that are available. And so we've gone from a situation where online commerce was really becoming a dominant force, kind of carving out its space into our lives, to all of a sudden now it's business from a phone. And so we've gone from online convenience to mobile convenience as sort of being this big factor in causing growth. So trends are a big deal. Business being done by phone is a really big deal. And that's sort of a major issue here when we think about that. So that's number one. And what you want to do is you want to be positioned, if you want to take full advantage of things like this, to give you sort of one set of numbers. Most estimates are that online commerce, 50% of those transactions will be delivered via a mobile phone by the end of 2021. That's not very far away, right? That's just like 18 months away or a little less than that we'll see that kind of dynamic taking place. And so that's a big deal for us to think about. Now, number two in this category of sort of major factors, big factors involved with what we're doing, and really success in general, is timing, right? Are you on the right side of time from a cultural standpoint and other factors that sort of impact how we do business? They can be driven by demographics, right? An aging population or a population that's maybe on a younger skew. Those are the kind of factors that can really take place. And of course, something like a pandemic also brings about, from a cultural outside standpoint, an unpredictable standpoint, at least for the most part, right? Not to split hairs about that, but we can see how timing, couple that with conveniences that people are looking for with things like online shopping, using their phone to do that. And now think about that in terms of timing. But timing can be a double-edged sword, right? If we think about somebody that maybe their whole life, they've sort of worked for a moment to go out there and open a brand new restaurant, and they open that brand new restaurant in March of this year, right as the whole country is getting ready to step into sort of this global stay-at-home lockdown, right? Think about the challenges associated with something like that. Or a trainer, somebody that's been a fantastic, wildly successful exercise trainer here over the past 6 years, 5 years, 4 years, whatever it happens to be. They go out there and they get themselves positioned to start a gym, and all of a sudden, same dynamic, right? We get stay-at-home orders, and all of a sudden gyms aren't opening up. So timing can be something that you want to be on the right side of it, obviously, but you want to think about it in terms of trends. And so it can be a double-edged sword. In our own case, there's no question in the past few months, we have seen our business grow enormously, but we were already on a growth track. So while there's no question that the pandemic played a role, it is not that single factor involved in the growth that we've seen. And I think that's an important distinction to look at as you're sort of mapping out, right? What do I want to do from a business standpoint? when I look around and I think of timing, one of the things I recognize is that people involved in the wellness space are thriving at really unprecedented levels. And I think that has a lot to do with just sort of this carnal desire we all have to make sure when we hear about these outside forces, whether it's discussions about degenerative diseases that make us think about diet and exercise, or something like a global pandemic that makes us think about, okay, am I as healthy as I can be from an immune standpoint, right? Am I doing those things I should? Am I getting enough sleep, enough water? Am I eating the right kind of diet? Am I using the right type of supplements to make sure that my body's positioned the best it can possibly be to deal with whatever comes its way? And so companies like ours that are focused on immune detoxification so that your immune system can work the best that it can. Things like CBD oil that can help to better manage stress, also playing a role in the quality of immune function, as well as nutrition, right? We're seeing these things skyrocket. And so start thinking about this issue of online commerce and that growth, mobile technology, the role that's playing, then considering the timing of all these factors, right? These are those things, as I stated in the beginning, that are really making having a big impact, right, on the growth that we're seeing. But it's not just going to be what we see right now, because these are things that are trends that are pointing upwards here, not for just the next 2 months, not for the next 6 months, but for years to come, because we're not going to roll back our interest in those kind of conveniences. And then the final piece to this sort of big three, thinking about these trends and timing, is the role of technology. Now, technology really, we could talk about that in terms of what I spoke about on e-commerce, right? That's become easier for all of us. Mobile phones now, completely different sort of game changer, maybe compared to the old flip phones and what our limitations were there. Now we have these smartphones. And so technology really means that we can work from home. We can work from our kitchen table, so to speak. I mean, heck, we've probably got nearly as much technology in one of the new smartphones as maybe they had in the 1960s when they were preparing to launch astronauts into space, right? So these things are quite interesting. And there's a conversion that takes place over time where technology integrates with our lives and our business practices. So to sort of help you better understand that, if I can get just a little bit of help here from my online assistant, I'm going to pull up our app that we just introduced sort of at the start of all of this, just to give you an idea of what can be done with technology as we go out there and we develop things like a side hustle or an at-home business, and show you what it can do. So I've got my phone here, and so I can see it now on the screen. Hopefully you're trailing right behind us at the same time. Okay, I'm being told it's not quite there yet. Okay, we're here now. So I have pulled up our app, our Verb app. We partner with Verb Technologies to create this app. If you don't have this app, you can contact your person that enrolled you or sponsored you or introduced you to the business, or if they're not conveniently available, you can reach out to our support staff and they will help you in this regard. But just to give you an idea of what technology does today, sort of combining these trends of online commerce, mobile, timing, all these things together, what it really allows you to do is operate a business completely from your thumb and your smartphone. So quite literally, this app that you see open in front of me here, this is an app that once you open up, you've got a choice here where you can choose, and I'm not going to open them up because I don't want to take that much time, but you can see in videos there, these are videos. One is an explanation of what we're doing with CBD oil for so many people that are looking for answers there, some that want to know about other people involved with using CBD oils and what they can do for you. This is Nick Troutman, a world champion kayaker, and how he uses CBD with recovery. This is Seychelle Webster. Seychelle has been working with us, our CBD products now. She's a world champion paddleboard, stand-up paddleboard athlete. Get to know Seychelle and Nick both on Instagram. They're fantastic. And then here's another video you could choose to share that actually explains to people about the compensation program we work with and the leverage it allows individuals with even just a short amount of time of day to develop for themselves an income that's not just going to provide a few $100s, but over time, it's something that if they want to actually replace the career they're working with, that opportunity exists. So it provides information that socially you can share. You have a choice of sharing it through a text message. You have a choice of sharing it through email, or you can even share it through social media. And then ultimately, as things develop forward, you can get down to providing, say, graphic information. So we've got all kinds of infographics related to our CBD oil products, as well as the ability, and hopefully you can see it where I'm stopped right in the middle of the screen there, where it says my sample site. So one of the things that you have an opportunity to do is to actually make available for free to someone a sample of our best-selling 750 milligram CBD oil product made with organic ingredients. It is the most successful CBD oil product that we have. For those that are familiar with CBD oil, have heard a little bit about it. For those that haven't tried it, it's every bit as exciting and it's every bit as good as you hear. It's one of those things where the hype is matched up by the user experience. So whether it's managing stress or somebody that's trying to get to bed, sleep better, right? I think for a lot of people during this pandemic, sleep has been one of those issues that's sort of a premium, right? That's so many things running through our heads about what's taking place, in the world today. When does it all sort of wind down and we get back to some level of normal? Really, what that is in the future, we're not really sure. And so this is a chance for you, for someone that's curious about CBD, or they've tried it and haven't been satisfied with the products they've tried, for you to share with them a sample for free. And in fact, you can kind of choose, do you want to make it available for them and they pay for the cost of shipping and handling? Or do you want to just simply provide it to them for free across the board, absorbing the shipping and handling cost because the sample itself is actually free through this app program? So what I'm really wanting to demonstrate, and if I could get this, let's go off the app now. What I'm really wanting to demonstrate, particularly for those that are new, is there are factors that are behind this success and this growth that you're seeing. Month of July is not over. It's already the best month in the history of our company. If we look forecasting out on new memberships, new customers that have taken place in July, we know that August will again be a bigger month. And so we're continuing to see this growth. And so why is that happening? So what's the catalyst behind all this? Well, it's these trends, whether we're talking about the growth of online consumer shopping, the use of that then becoming on a mobile device, if we consider the timing, and then finally match those things up with technology. And you've got this catalyst for success that isn't just going to be in this moment here. It's the type of thing that will carry forward. And so for those that are involved because you want to build a business, well, I want you to understand what are those factors that are causing that to take place. And something like that app is really sort of one of those bigger pieces. And so that's a little bit of sort of why it works. Now, how does it work? And this is a question that I receive really frequently as I'm invited to be a guest on calls or Zoom conferences or whatever that happens to be. And the one thing that I want to say to everybody is this is a really, it's a much more simple enterprise than I think a lot of people want to accept. I think as human beings, we have a tendency to think when we see something that's big business and not small, we think there's got to be these other outside factors. And I've got some experience here. I've been involved in this industry for 30 plus years. And so I sort of understand some of these dynamics. I'm actually going to be 57 here on my next birthday. So I probably a little bit of a relic in that regard. So when I got involved, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have emails, and we certainly didn't have mobile devices, but I've seen these things transfer over time. But here are the two key factors. And if you're going to take some notes here, here's two notes that I want you to take. The first one is, this is about starting a conversation. I mean, it's really that simple. If you're taking a note, the key to this and how you develop a business is starting conversations. You could start those conversations face-to-face with a colleague in the cubicle next to you, with somebody in the neighborhood or whatever that happens to be, or you could use something like the app that I just showed you to start a conversation by sharing information, infographics, videos, sharing a sample of the CBD oil products. And of course, over time, we'll develop other aspects of that app that give you the chance to highlight other products in our product line. And so this is about starting a conversation. And to a certain degree, you can measure yourself and you can measure what you're doing in your activity by how many conversations that you start. So that's one. Number two is follow-up. And that one was probably intuitive for you, right? follow-up is sort of that obvious answer when you start that conversation. Number two is to follow up. Now that's important because as obvious it seems to me, not everybody recognizes the need to follow up, right? Maybe they have a tendency to share something and think they'll just wait till somebody follows up with them. I encourage you not to do that, right? Be proactive enough to schedule and work on your follow-up, but that's really it. Now, when you follow up, right, what do? Well, you're going to share your story. You're going to tell somebody why you're interested, what you're doing, what you're using, what your vision is. It's nothing more than that. It is a follow-up to that conversation that you started where you're explaining to your peer group or whomever you're speaking to what excites you, why you're taking your time to do this. What you're ultimately going to discover is even for people you don't know that well, you have lots in common. Human beings have sort of these same dynamics that we think about, whether it's the fundamentals of food, shelter, clothing. We can extend that to health, financial security. I think most all of us think about, what am I doing and what's the chances it's going to take me to an early retirement so I'm still youthful enough to enjoy that day, or what does that look like, right? These are all sort of these carnal issues that we all have, and they're all a part of conversations that we have. And so how this is really built, right, on these trends and the timing and the technology is you start a conversation and you follow up. Now, to be fair, you can refine those efforts over time. You can be better about your initial conversation. You can refine how you discuss your story and what you're doing. Your follow-up techniques can grow, right? You can learn to incorporate somebody that you're working with, so it's not just yourself, but you've got sort of a third-party confirmation. But the fundamentals of this are very simple. It's starting a conversation and it's following up. And if that's all that you're doing, and with genuine sincerity, with your discussions, telling people about what you're doing, what you're using, and why you're doing it, you're going to find success for us because the system works for you too. Just take, for example, the app that I just shared. When you share one of those samples with somebody, that system has a built-in follow-up. So once again, the technology becomes a catalyst to help to grow and expand the efforts that you're making. One of the key things that I see when I discuss this business with people, and so what's the difference between this type of word of mouth business and say traditional advertising, it's the leverage this gives individual persons through technology, through effective products and partnerships with a company like Touchstone Essentials. That's really the key, the dynamic that's creating the success that we're enjoying, not just domestically, but on a global level. And so your efforts can be refined, but when you use the technology, when you use the products and you take advantage of the timing, this is the kind of thing that you will enjoy, and it's why we're having this success. So with that, thank you for taking some time to be with me today. Just a quick review, right? People say, okay, why is this happening, right? What are these big drivers? There's no question it's the trends, right? The online and the mobile and that set of issues. Number two is the timing. We've got an aging population. We've got a population thinking about pandemics. We've got a population thinking about their health. And we've got a population that are worried about financial security and where things are going from an economic standpoint. And so people are looking to position and think about what's taking place. And then the final piece of that, the catalyst for that, is the technology. Combine that with your ability to talk to people, to start a conversation and follow up. That is really the key to what's taking place here and the success that we're enjoying. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. Until next time, I'm Eddie Stone, and I look forward to talking to you. Bye for now.